is Christmas 1941 for the British people, marking the third Christmas during the war, a war of escalating deprivation and hardship. This war has become a struggle for survival between civilizations. However, Britain and the British Empire no longer stand alone in facing Nazi Germany. Less than 3 weeks after America entered the war, on December 7th, the Imperial Japanese Navy launched an unannounced and devastating attack on the American naval base at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii, killing thousands and destroying key American warships. However, the American aircraft carriers escaped destruction, and in the following year, Japan would regret its aggression. In the midwinter snow, the German army embarked on a long fight, facing the first series of counterattacks that would drive the invaders back to the communist capital they had set out from. The nations of the world were slowly beginning to muster their forces, as every worker, factory, and machine toiled to produce the tools of war. The battles of 1942 would prove to be world-shattering, growing more destructive than ever before. On January 1st, 1942, the United Nations Declaration was announced, marking a grand alliance between China, Britain, the United States, and the Soviet Union. This was the first official alliance the United States had joined since 1778, and all signatories pledged to use their full power and resources against the Axis powers, to cooperate with one another and to continue fighting until the defeat of the Axis, with no separate peace agreements. The destruction of Pearl Harbor was simply the first element of Japan's grand expansionist policy. Japan embarked on a series of invasions across the Pacific and Southeast Asia, leaping across islands and seas. America's Philippine Islands were taken by surprise just days after the attack on Pearl Harbor. Once again, American planes were caught on the ground, neatly lined up, making them easy targets for the Japanese. With naval superiority, Japanese forces swiftly landed north and south of the islands, easily taking control. Japan deployed 90,000 soldiers against 25,000 American defenders, who, despite their valiant efforts, received no support from the United States. Meanwhile, Japan occupied the British colony of Malaya by advancing through Allied Thailand. Japanese forces quickly seized airfields in northern Malaya and began a rapid march down the peninsula. Japanese superiority in both the air and sea was overwhelming. On December 10th, 2 British battleships, HMS Prince of Wales and HMS Repulse, fell victim to Japanese bombers based in Thailand and Vietnam. These ships, symbols of naval might, were sunk within hours, proving once again that battleships were obsolete against air power. Japan sought to capture Malaya for its vast economic resources, including tin mines and rubber plantations, which were vital to Japan's war effort. They aimed to seize Britain's massive naval base on the southern island of Singapore, not only to deprive the enemy of this stronghold, but also to use it as a forward base for future invasions. Japanese forces advanced swiftly, province by province, until the British colony of Hong Kong was besieged. Once again, Japanese air forces quickly overwhelmed the enemy at the start of the campaign. 8,000 British defenders of Hong Kong were subjected to relentless bombing, while 40,000 Japanese troops pressured them continuously. In the Pacific theater, the conflict extended to remote archipelagos along strategic war routes. On December 10th, the island of Guam fell to Japanese forces. Japan's strategy was to turn these islands into fortresses, establishing a defensive ring around the new Japanese empire. The wave of Japanese conquests spread rapidly. By December 15th, the Japanese army had occupied British Burma, aiming to cut off supply lines to their Chinese enemies and use Burma as a base for an assault on British India. One of the Axis powers' grand dreams was for Japanese armies advancing into India to link up with German forces pushing east from southern Russia and North Africa through Arabia and Iran. Japan's series of victories revealed tensions within the Axis alliance, which was based more on necessity than ideology. Hitler remarked in frustration, The Japanese are conquering all the islands. They will take Australia. The empire will crumble. Japan's goal was to expel the white colonial powers from Asia, appealing to the native populations to rid themselves of European colonizers. Japan's rapid advances in these early days and weeks were astonishing, with no day passing without new attacks or victories. On December 23rd, Japanese forces occupied Borneo, aiming to seize British oil fields, a crucial resource for the war. On Christmas Day, Hong Kong fell. In a medieval-style siege, the Japanese cut off the city's water supply. The new year brought no respite. On January 11th, the Dutch East Indies, now Indonesia, faced an attack by Japanese paratroopers targeting its oil reserves. On the January 12th, Kuala Lumpur, the capital of Malaya, fell. In the Philippines, American General Douglas MacArthur led a bitter defense of the Bataan Peninsula, where American forces were gathered. While their morale was high, MacArthur was secretly informed that no reinforcements would be sent, and the peninsula had supplies for only a month. Panic spread across Australia, with fears of invasion now very real. On January 24th, Japanese forces occupied New Guinea, an Australian-controlled territory, quickly subduing the region.